Will I, M24, regret my relationship ending with my F22 partner because I expressed I'm feeling lonely? For context, we started really talking to each other at New Year's this year. We were each other's New Year's kiss, and we instantly caught feelings. We are both from the same hometown. At the time when we met, I lived in Sacramento, and she was finishing college in San Diego before moving back to Sacramento. We both were skeptical about long distance, but we decided to make it official and date in March. During the time of long distance, we had our differences about how much she would drink and go out and communication in general. She would want to go out 3-5x a week and only call a few times a week. Mind you, I have a lot of trauma from my mom leaving me when I was a child and seeing alcohol abuse in my family. I expressed that to her and expressed I wanted her to give me some more communication, as phone calls were all we really had together at the time since we couldn't physically be together. Despite me constantly expressing that I felt lonely and that our lack of communication made me feel anxious, she swept everything I ever said under the rug without recognizing any of my feelings. It sucked, but I wasn't going to ruin her time with her friends before she moved back home from college. She graduated college in May, but stayed down there strictly to party for 2 more months. Important to note, I was never going to ask her to not go out with her friends. I do not want to be a controlling partner. Anytime I would express feelings to her, I would end up apologizing. For example, I found out my grandpa was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and likely will not live. In this process, I ended up having to talk to my mom for the first time in 2 years. This entire process happened in under 2 hours, and when it was done, I naturally ran to my partner for comfort. I was in shock and didn't say much because I just didn't have words at the time. She looked at me and said, "All right, well, if you aren't going to say anything, I'm going to go to the gym." And I was just like, okay then. She then goes, "What do you want from me? I feel like you're testing me right now." At which I hung up because I was so hurt. Anytime I expressed any emotions, any signs of anything, it was always made about her, and I was always the one who felt like shit about it. She decided she would move back in July, and we would spend 4th of July together. We made plans to be together, and she later on told me that she was going to flake on our plans so she could stay down there and party even more. Upset with her decision, I told her if she wanted I wouldn't be with her anymore because I was too exhausted, and it felt like I wasn't in a relationship at that point. She had just flaked on our plans together so she could go out and party and get drunk. Even the nerve to ask me that broke me. The lack of communication, the feeling of not wanting to be committed to, the lack of being heard, and the fact she would constantly ignore when I told her my feelings put me at the point of giving up. She apologized and ended up moving back at the time she originally planned, in July. Since moving back, we have done nothing together. She only comes over twice a week, sleeps over once a week, we barely talk. There is no intimacy sexually or emotionally. We do everything that she wants to do. If I offer to do something I have interests in, she passive-aggressively complains about it until I go, "Okay, we won't do that then." I expressed again that I feel disconnected and told her that it feels like everything we do in our relationship is solely for her, and she's not taking my feelings and interests into account, to which she responded with, "Because you have no hobbies or interest," which is just not true at all, but was gut-wrenching to hear nonetheless. She ended up going on another trip for the last 2 weeks that required her to go in and out of reception, but not completely out of reception. During this trip, we did not talk at all. Yes, she was out doing her thing, so I wasn't going to ask for her to text me all the time. However, a few days ago, she was posting to her Instagram and blatantly ignoring my texts while I was under the impression she just had no reception. When asked about it, she said, "It's because I just took a picture and posted it. I didn't have time to text back, and then I had to drive after back out of service." So yesterday, I packed all of her stuff into a box and got myself into the thought process of breaking up with her before she came back from her trip. I wanted to see how I'd feel looking at her stuff for 2 days, and if I was comfortable with giving up on this relationship. We called last night, and I was really numb. I felt so incredibly defeated and like I wasn't even in a relationship. Everything felt so distant. I expressed again that I felt distant, and that seeing her ignore my texts but post on Instagram felt discouraging. She got mad. She told me I'm too sensitive and emotional. and told me I was asking too much and that I was asking her to give her undivided attention to me. I really wasn't asking that all. I just wanted maybe a call a night. Maybe some updates that she drove from point A to point B safely. Maybe when you have time to post, let's talk. That's all I was asking for, and expressed it felt shitty to see her make time for Instagram, but not me when we hadn't talked in 2 weeks. On her rant, she ended up saying, "You know what, how about you get a box and pack my shit up then?" That's when I broke the news to her. I said, "I already did today. It's already done." She got really quiet, said, "Well, sorry for fucking calling," and hung up. She then texted this morning saying we aren't together and that I dumped her last night by packing her stuff up. I never actually told her I wanted to break up, and she would have never known her stuff was packed up had she not been the one to set it on the phone in the first place. I had no plans in telling her about it in the first place until I came to peace that breaking up was what route I wanted to go. I'm not sure what to think or do, but I'm tired of feeling isolated, lonely, and having to apologize whenever I feel like I'm being treated poorly. These examples I give are only a few, but I'm just tired.